Hey everyone, thanks for coming to the Las Vegas UX Meetup. My name is Abegail Otero. I'm a UX designer, host of this meetup, and co-founder of Value Driven Careers. I have 5 years of product experience, and through this meetup group, we hope to introduce people to different concepts within UX. And we also have events that we do outside of Tech Alley to go a little bit deeper for those who maybe want to explore and practice some of our concepts a little bit deeper. And I do have QR codes, maybe I can get out of the way. But if you want updates about the events that we're hosting, definitely join our meetup group on LinkedIn. And if you prefer Instagram, we just created an account because I know some people like to stay up to date through that. So definitely follow our profile or join our group. This is backwards. I host the group, but we also have a team. So shout out to the team who helps post, reach out to and engage with our audience, as well as organize some of our events. Gerardo is speaking today. And just wanted to share, the last event that we did was a picnic at Sunset Park. So we're definitely hoping to grow this meetup group and hope that you become more of a familiar face. We definitely do a lot to just come together as a group of friends, but also to do deeper dives into UX principles. Like before the picnic, we did an event called Roast and Tell, where we picked an application, roasted it by saying what are some usability issues with it, and then took some time to workshop, maybe about an hour, to make that better, and then did presentations so that we can get a little bit more comfortable being in front of people in real life and then talking about the work that we've done. So that's a little bit about me and our group. And excited to introduce Gerardo, who will be speaking today. I've known Gerardo for a couple of months now. We met at Town Square. Just posted it on LinkedIn saying that we're looking for people to help us organize, and he saw it. And from there, we've learned a lot about his journey of interviewing, and I think that's what he's going to be talking to us today about, how he tells stories through his case studies and whatnot. Without further ado, let's give it a hand for Gerardo.
Thank you. All right. Well, first of all, thank you so much for being here. I'm really happy that I have, thanks Abby for the opportunity. And yeah, the reason today I'm going to talk about storytelling for UX case studies. Hold on, my presentation is weird. And the thing is that I love stories, I love filmmaking, and I love gossip. So, that's pretty much how we learn. Also, what I'm going to show you is, like Abby mentioned, I've been interviewing lately, and it has worked for me. So I'm going to show you. I want to share with you something that has worked, that hopefully I'm hoping that works for you as well, especially when you're presenting something, especially in the UX case. Pretty much I've been interviewing the last 3 months, and the last 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and 5.5 years ago. According to a friend, she never had met somebody that gets laid off as much as I do. But from all that crap, the truth is that I have learned something. I have been refining this presentation, this way of presenting, in order to get really good feedback. And instead of just giving you the framework, because that could be just an email, no. I wanna show you how it works and why it doesn't work, right? Because it's so easy to replicate a framework or copy and paste some slides. What I really like for you, for everybody, honestly, is to understand it, apply it, and break it. Because once you make your own stories, once you know how the parts move, you can tell a really impactful stories. So they're really good. I've been doing this for my interviews to the point that I never had honestly, I never had like bad feedback about it. The feedback I get is, I don't have questions. You told me everything I needed to know. So I feel confident sharing this with you. Like I told you, I've been refining this for the last few years, and the positive feedback that I got. So my name is Gerardo. I go by G. Currently, I'm working at the Wing. It's my third time at the Wing. This is my toxic relationship, pretty much. But this time, they told me they changed. So I'm working as a senior UX there. I have worked in Las Vegas for the last 10 years in hospitality, Caesars Entertainment, Win. Then I switched to childcare SaaS for management software. Pretty cool. And also, Win again, of course. I have taught in UX for a bootcamp in few universities in the country. And yeah, so let's talk about the stories. If I, and information is pretty, information. Storytelling is information, is very cool because this is how we learn. And that's how the humankind has been learning for the longest, right? That's how information has passed down through generations in order to learn and to get knowledge. So storytelling is important because facts will tell us what happens, right? But the stories will tell us why it matters. And from the beginning of the humankind, the knowledge has been passed down because stories are more effective than just simple sentences. Neuroscientists have discovered that stories when we hear a story, we have some mirror neurons that activate and makes us be part of that story. That's why we have the information and we retain the information, right? So pretty much we can summarize that since cave paintings to the latest Netflix film, we are just transferring information. As much as we can, we hear the latest gossip about my friend getting divorced, I'm gonna get all the information because I'm interested, right? Because it's good to know. But now I wonder if only there was an industry that relies on telling good stories, which, especially in summer, I wonder which one will be, right? Can you please just shout out your favorite summer blockbusters?
The summer I turned pretty.
A blockbuster?
This summer?
Which any summer? Your favorite movie? Come on.
Deadpool or
Yeah, that's good.
Deadpool, okay. Perfect, okay. Which one?
Superman?
Which one?
Superman.
Oh, Superman. Definitely. Common suspects here, right? And this is what I asked you. What do they have in common? What Luke Skywalker, Frodo, Furiosa, and the Sax from The Devil Wears Prada, Mufasa, and Neo have in common?
They all struggle.
Yeah.
Get good at what they do. They all fail so that they can get back up again.
Okay.
Yeah, character development.
Spoiler alert. And that's true. This is the thing. We've been telling the same story over and over again.
Well,
The only thing that we...
yeah, so that's the hero's journey, but I wasn't sure how Furiosa has that. At least not from the Fury Road aspect, but I'm curious, Jeffrey.
Oh man, I didn't watch the movie yesterday, so you might got me there, but
Yeah.
maybe. The idea is, the point is that we've been telling the same story over and over again. The circumstances changes, but somehow, even if it's animated, New York, or The Matrix, we like them. And we actually, you can deny, these are successful, right? So it turns out that this writer, this mythologist, American, discovered that in many different myths and stories from Mesopotamia, England, Celtic, many different ones. His name is Joseph Campbell, and he wrote something called The Hero of the Thousand Faces. And there describes that we just tell the same story over and over again. And where was it? And yeah, like you were saying, there is a pattern. There is a pattern of discovery. There is a pattern of coming back successful and be a different person. And today, just like King Arthur, like the Odyssey, or Neo, it's kind of the same story. Sounds kind of depressive a little bit, but it's not. So today, right, I'm gonna show you, learn a bit about this, and then we're gonna make an analogy how this applies to UX. Believe me, it works. So let's make a story here. We need a hero, and the first step of the storytelling is the ordinary world. What does this mean? Come on. It's just a person just living the life that we are right now. Nothing bothers them. In Luke Skywalker's world, he was a farm boy in his community farm doing nothing. Right? Pretty much. In Devil Wears Prada, a great movie, she's just a college graduate and wants to become a serious writer. Individual place in the world. Now, they have their normal life. But what happens later? We get to, there is a call for adventure. In Star Wars, what is that? What happens? Luke gets, hope my analogies with Luke and Devil Wears Prada work. But in Star Wars, Luke meets the droids, right? And there's something's happening. Something is disturbing, it's affecting his world, and it's about to change. In The Devil Wears Prada, what will be the call for adventure?
The job?
Yeah.
Yes, right? Notice how in Star Wars happens like 10, 20 minutes later. In the movie, it has the first 5 minutes in The Devil Wears Prada. Yes, there is about to change, something about to change. Now, the next step is crossing the threshold and challenges, right? This is when the hero of our story actually has to try himself and become a different person than I was before. In Star Wars, it's training for the Force, or trying to rescue all the adventures he has to go through the Death Star and whatever. And The Devil Wears Prada, it's trying to get the damn unpublished Harry Potter manuscript, right? Or all the different things that they have to do that. That's a series of challenges there. Perfect. Let's go to the next one. And then we get to a climax when the biggest challenge of all is where they realize something different is about to happen. In Star Wars, happens when Obi-Wan sacrifices himself so Luke can trust the Force, right? It changes. Devil Wears Prada, and the other end, it happens in the Paris Fashion Week where Andy decides that what actually the situation is, right? The success cost her identity, and it's about to do something. Okay. Now, the next one is transformation and reward. Our hero gains knowledge and our skill and our insight. So Andy in Devil Wears Prada gets, it's funny to talk about Devil Wears Prada and UX, but she realized that she's a different person now and decides to abandon her life at that moment. He's a new person. For Luke, for example, they succeed, he becomes a hero, a leader, and leads the rebellion to eliminate the Death Star or whatever. I know more about Devil Wears Prada than Star Wars. Then the return, right? The hero comes back, but Luke is no longer a farm boy. He's a Jedi. He's a different person. Andy is a serious writer, has learned so much, and is applying for a serious job in New York. And if you think about it, like everybody should know, the bad guy Miranda and their friends, and she gets rid of everybody there because she's a new person. She cannot handle that. Very interesting. We should write an essay about it. Perfect. So now that I talked to you about this, and Joseph Campbell has many other different parts that I'm not going to mention because they're not necessarily go with the analogy of UX, But if you're interested, check it out. They have mentors, for example, like Obi-Wan or Nigel for the Devil Wears Prada. Anyhow, so shout please in UX, who is the hero?
John Norman.
Yeah. Wrong. Yes. Yes. The user, and we are the active narrator trying to take him to the action, right? We guided them to the action to help them succeed. And if we make a kind of graph about our hero's journey, it looks something like this. It goes ordinary work, call for adventure, needs to cross the threshold, there's challenges, and overcomes any challenges to become a different person, a hero. If we change this and we go to our UX case study, it might look something like this, right? We have a context. We have to deliver something, a foundation of what the story is. What is the problem? It's very similar to a challenge, call for adventure, and there is a research, and ideation, solution, and impact. It kind of fits the same story. So why not use the hero's journey to tell our case studies? And believe me, you might already be presenting your UX case studies like this-ish, hopefully, but maybe we can refine some things. Here is a breakdown of how it works, right? And now I'm gonna go over an outline that I use to adapt this to my presentation of UX case studies, with a few extra tips there. Okay, so the outline. So first of all, I'm including an introduction because don't forget, you have to introduce yourself. This is not real necessarily, so don't forget it. You have to, whether you have a slide for it or not. And maybe remember, you can segue your presentation towards something that you have to talk later. No big deal here. But then later, we have the tease. Have you ever seen a James Bond movie?
Nah.
Out of here. How do they start?
With a murder.
Yeah, there's some sort of action.
Right? Something.
It's long action sequence.
Exactly. There's in filmmaking, there is a best practice called the 8-10 minute rule, which means that in the first 10 minutes of your movie, you have to tell the user what the hell is happening, what's going to happen, right? Something, the rest of the movie. If I start telling you gossip, I start by, Abby, guess who's getting divorced?
Not me.
Wow.
Right? Since that moment, they're already interested in what I was going to tell you, right? If I start telling you my vacations in Mexico City, I'm not going to start with like, I took an Uber, I went to this. I'm going to start like, you can't believe the freaking mouth-watering shrimp that I had one day. I can't stop thinking about it. And like, oh, tell me about it. Perfect.
It's like in Reels, you start with a hook.
Yeah, a hook.
Before going on to
Exactly. Perfect.
even shorter format.
Absolutely. So, in UX, we can use the 8-10 minute rule to, instead of starting from the problem statement or from the beginning, start from the back, from the end, right? Give them some pieces of your final designs. You can show them a little bit of your metrics, and a before and after, for example, would be nice. You don't have to spend too much time, but you can tell your audience like, hey, this is what we got. Let me tell you how I got here, right? And you can send, and you set a foundation to start the story. The next one is the setup. So, in order to do this, you have the big picture of what you want to tell. What I usually do is I have a script on an outline. I write down what I want to tell in the order I want to tell. So I can memorize it easily. I don't have even to think about it. I just have my numbers. It takes a minute, but it helps me plan what I want to do, especially if I need to gather assets for each point. It's just a suggestion. The next one is based on a real story. Let's be honest. If I quit a company, probably the last thing I'm going to think is to grab my files to send them. Well, true story. My last time at the Win, I knew I was about to quit, and I started emailing myself design files to add to my portfolio. I got an email from my boss's boss telling me that you shouldn't do that because they were monitoring all the emails and I was stealing property from the wind. But what I'm trying to say here is that you might not have the whole thing, and to be honest, if you have to deal with developers or with product managers or the real company budget, your story might not be the one you want to tell. It might be a boring story. So why not just adapt what you have to tell the story you want to tell, right? Nobody will know. It's not wrong. You are being tested by your skills in design and your storytelling and what happens. So if I know that this product didn't launch when it happened in 2 months, but 2 years later, you can accommodate your story to fit the user journey, right? So take considerations that doesn't have to be exactly how it happened. Also, if you don't have the assets, create the assets. That's it. Now, when you have to choose what you want to say, there is something called the story triangle. And there's an interaction between what I'm saying, what you, myself, what I'm saying, and everybody here, right? If I tell you a story about a boss tracking up from Mary that she just attended a concert and she's afraid of missing her train in New York, and she doesn't know if she wants to take the bus or a taxi. Who here will choose the taxi? One. Who will take the bus?
Taking an Uber.
Yeah. Who took the Uber? Who probably imagined that it was raining in the story, in the small setup. Maybe you relate with that information because you lived it, and that's fair. That's fair. The challenge here when you start telling a story is that if you don't give enough details, everybody's having their own story in their minds, and then you can lose the impact you want to do. So this story triangle is you have to be very effective on what you want to say and with a purpose, right? Because you have to have a structured detail to have a balanced engagement to your users so you can tell exactly what you want. If you tell a story that it has no details, the results can be anything and your final result might not be what the users have in their mind. And then they're gonna be like, oh, well, my expectations were here, you show me something here, right? So be conscious about what are you showing here. The formalities of the presentation, you have a context, the background. This is a format that I usually do with a bit of a screenshot and a bit of stuff, text here. I talk about the persona. And then like, oh, well, this persona is a child care owner and wants to do this and that. And we base that this problem statement happens. Right? It was placed in this position and it has this call for adventure, something's happening. The how, my, which, the constraints, it's up to you if you want to use it. It's more technical for telling a UX story. But it helps you remember the story you want to tell. You don't have to include it if you don't want to. The objective also is something that is very more technical for you to study. And the user, the role. This is your narrator, so it's not necessarily the user, but it's more you are also selling yourself in an interview. More straightforward there. Now, we're getting to the next step of the hero's journey, right? The research takeaways. You don't need to show the whole thing. You don't need to tell them, I interviewed the whole story. Tell me what you learned from there. And this is important. I'm going to tell you why in a second, right? I have here some example of research that I did for a company. I used these short paragraphs, competitive research as well. But then, coming back to my James Bond analogy, there's a point in the movie where he gets somebody teaches him how to use gadgets, right? Pretty nice, and that's it. They have a nice Omega watch that has a laser. Cute, exactly. And you forget about it. 1 hour later in the movie, he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna use my watch and escape," and it feels good. Feels real because it was planted at the beginning of the movie. right? That idea of what is happening, it works, and you believe it at the end, and it feels okay. Why we don't do the same when we present UX cases? So this is something that I do based on the learnings from my research, which, as you can tell, even though it's like a couple of few bullet points and paragraphs, a user might not remember it. A spectator might not remember everything, right? So what I'm trying to do here is encapsulate buckets of information of the actions that I did for my project, right? In this example for this project, I told that my user had 3 important things to do in my interface. They had to find, to choose, and to manage the things that are here: enrollments, children, classes, and whatever. Perfect. So why is important this? And this can apply for every type of project. I have this one here: modularity, discoverability, content and engage, function, experience and digital key, architecture, layout, whatever the case is, it doesn't matter. The idea is to summarize the information in single digestible chunks of information that you can use later for selling your UX case study. I think this is it's a bit harder sometimes because it requires a more level of synthesizing the information, and probably you didn't do it when you did the project. So you have to revisit this and learn how to use it. And just the simple way you can bucket this information. Sometimes when it's complicated, I use 3 main things called the functional, technical, and expressive, right? How did I approach this solution in a functional way? How do I approach this in a technical way? How it works, the app, the technicalities of it, and how the colors, the branding, the font, how do they affect that? How I'm gonna help the hero of the story throughout the elements of my design. That's what we do in this, and I'll show you in a second. Because the next step, which is the process, right? We enter in the challenges and the trials of the design. And here, it's important too. The perfectionist and storytelling isn't showing everything. It's showing only what matters. And I used to tell this to my students: be careful what you show in your presentation. The more you show, is the more you might get asked. And if your answers don't match what you are telling me, you're not gonna be good. It's gonna be bad, right? So when I start presenting my wireframes, for example, I'm going to tell you, hey, here's my wireframe, but how did this wireframe help the user get what you wanted to solve, right? Well, I made the most important information here. I made the images larger because it needed to scroll this way. It needs to have a reason behind your simple wireframe, right? It doesn't matter if it's a low fidelity, if it's a mid fidelity. Why did you use mid fidelity? Well, because when I paper tested the original wireframes, the user didn't understand it. And all developers needed to double check some kind of interaction that I needed to do, and this was the fastest way to do it. And also, the user didn't see this, right? So you have to have a reason behind every decision that you are showing me that pushes the story forwards, not just because. And the same applies for every small design. And this is where the important choosing what you want to show, right? If I'm gonna show colors, it's because colors are important, and there is a reason why colors were chosen, right? Because it was part of the branding, but also it helped color coding the information, helped them to understand it faster and easier. We use it for batches, and you can see every element that I chose, and I didn't choose all the elements of my interface, just the ones that I thought they will be better for the user. And I have more elements for my design. Perfect. I follow the atomic design from colors to more complex to organisms like the card. Notice that some of these elements in the card are the ones that I already talked before in the presentation. So you are building, going from smaller to larger in your presentation. And we go to the solution. Here, pretty straightforward. You can show your screens or your prototypes or your videos, wherever you want. But this is where it comes something pretty nice. remember what we planned before, the concepts that you had before, right? Where it's find, choose, and manage. Well, this is my final design, but let me complete the circle here, because I'm gonna tell you why this component that I chose and I designed fits with the research that you did before, right? This helps you find, this helps you manage. What about the next element? Perfect. This helps you find, choose, and manage. What I told you, what I told you at the beginning that I was doing, that I learned, I'm solving it and connecting the dots at the end with the final product. This completes the circle, and because you said that's what you created, people will accept that because it's there. Find, choose, and manage, right? And it's the payoff, and it feels good. Next, other results. This is more straightforward. Just show what you know, classic information, what the metrics were when you release a product or the feedback you got from your user testing. A bit of examples here. And the conclusions. Then the hero comes back home as a new person. So our user and yourself as a designer overcame all the different challenges and things that you would do different. This is how it looks, the whole thing, right? We have the outline of our presentation with how it matches with the hero's journey. All right. And before I wrap up, I have a couple of things here to add up here. The first one is this diversified projects. If you are interviewing for UX and you have half an hour to present two, three projects, try to choose the ones that are tackle the wider channels that you have. If you have mobile, if you have SaaS, if you have a website, right? Try to use that to tell a wider story. A better story. Practice and timing is important because you might have your stories in your outline, in your script, and it has to match your screens, and practicing will be the best way to do it as many times as you can. I have been caught in my restroom talking to myself in the mirror practicing my restroom. It feels weird, but that's how you get it right. Make it yours. You don't have to do exactly what I show you. I mean, I try to not use my own stuff because you have probably better stuff to show. This week at the Win, I worked with a designer that started his presentation with a video, a tease video. It was not even UX related. It was just an action video with the app or something, some screenshots there, just to set the mood, break the ice, and it was a good tease. And it was his own thing, right? And people liked it. And have a backup. Sometimes I do have a long presentation of 4 projects in the same file, and I know that how more or less each one can last when I present them, and I try to move it around depending the time that I have. And perfect. And that's it, guys. Thank you so much. That's all.
Wait, questions.
Oh, God. Guys, go.
Can't get off the hook that easily. First of all, that was a really great presentation.
Thank
right?
you.
You guys, like, very engaging. You're a very great storyteller, telling us how to tell stories. I have a lot of questions, but I want to open the floor. Is there anybody else who have questions for Gerardo about his presentation?
Excited to hear what questions you have to hear.
Well, first of all, raise of hands. How many of us are designers in the room?
Yeah.
Okay. So designers, any questions about presenting? Maybe it's not a case study, but maybe you're trying to pitch an idea to a stakeholder. Yeah. What questions do you guys have?
Well, what are your thoughts on, I think it's a good idea, but what are your thoughts on using an avatar to tell the story?
Read your audience. If your stakeholders are on board with that, do it. I wouldn't do it for the Win, for example, because they're like,
Correct.
yeah. But if we would here, for example, or
Avatar isn't like a person as well, a character.
Yeah.
To follow like in the story.
yeah, there was a true story, guys. There was this head of product at the Win. He was very unconventional, and the Win is pretty straight, right? He filmed himself and his wife as a fake influencer at the Win, just to document what the experience of a guest was. He was wearing like a tracksuit, a color, everything that Win is not. He did it, and he presented that to the higher ups. So it didn't go well, and still I want that video because I don't have it. Yeah, it was not well. He tried to sell the story, but it wasn't the right tone. So.
Seems like the wrong audience.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Go ahead.
Okay, so I was working on this app. It was like kind of an internship. How much is too much to change or like test within the app? Because I think that I scare the developers or annoy them at best because I try to change everything, like every feature, and they only really liked one. Like how much is too much?
When you're presenting a case study?
Like I was presenting to them like all my research, and then I was like, oh, and I have this idea, and I think this will work, and I tested it, like the people liked it, but it was like 6 different things that I wanted to like try out, and I made the prototype, and I think that they were like, oh, it's a lot, and they only liked one. So I was like, did I blow this one?
This wasn't for a job interview, it was for like
No,
buying.
it was like an internship, and they really liked one feature, so that one's the one that went in. But I was like, oh no, like, how do you narrow down what's most important?
I have a comment for this. I'm a project manager to a project
Okay.
and I think this ends up being time and resources, right? You're working on those constraints right away, and it really helps to understand those constraints right away. And then the early, as you are brainstorming, and maybe, I don't know, depending on your experience, you may know or not know how long ideas would, ballpark take. Is it like an hour, couple hours idea, or is it months of development where you're factoring the whole thing?
Yeah.
So if you could collaborate early with your team and like keep their minds about how long those things take, and like, kind of bring that early, those conversations in early, that they know that you're taking into account it's already going to be an easier sell. Like,
Okay, yeah, because I felt like I pulled them to death with all my research. And then
Too many
I was like,
products.
here's too many features, and then they were just like, okay, one's good.
I'd like to piggyback on that one. I agree, like bringing in your developers into the brainstorming process rather than here are my defined solutions, go build them. It's, hey, what do I need to think about technically? What are constraints that we need to take into account? And then practically from a designer's perspective, I'll bring it to my team as designers to pitch my 6 ideas and then help me narrow down maybe the 3 best ones. And then from there, also kind of pitch good, better, best. So I have this feature that I want to do. The quick solution that we can do for now to buy us time is to iterate on what already exists, make it better, and then sell the idea of, well, how will this scale in the future if we do have future iterations for that. So good, better, best is a great way. That way you're not overwhelming them of like, shit, I have so much to build and we have to scrap already what exists.
Thank you so much. Very helpful.
I want to build off of what you just said. It's like know your audience, know your collaborators, engage them early. Because the sooner you make them a part of the solution, then if you come up with an idea, they're already halfway down the block agreeing with you, as opposed to you hit them and you hit them with 6 things in the face. You're going to have a reaction. It's human nature. And so instead, you start to have that area of communication going back and forth. You'll have a better result. And one is too much. Well, one is never too much, but more than one can be. And so that's probably one of the very first things is get a scope of the work of how far you can go, because you'd rather have them fall in love with one thing you did to make them then think, well, what else does she gotta pursue? and come from that standpoint.
Oh, thank you, that's helpful.
Yeah, another question.
Yeah, so myself as a non-technical founder, and I wouldn't call myself a designer either. I mean, I design clothing, not websites and UX. I'm trying to find some resources. Are there any recommendations you would make for understanding a little bit more about, you know, when I see certain designs, like what the hell is this even called? Like the style, or, you know, like how I go about, you know, certain features I'm trying to add. Just stuff like that. Like, do you have any recommendations?
For UX most, for whatever.
Mainly for UX. Like,
Definitely. I think Nielsen Norman Group has a great bunch of information about stuff.
Nielsen Norman?
Yeah, it's a what is it like?
Yeah, I think it's nng.com.
NN/G, I think it should come up.
Say that one more time, about
NNG, Nielsen and Norman Group.
Yeah. So my joke of Don Norman, he's like the founder of UX. So he coined that term, and that website is a great resource to learn the foundations of user experience, like from the definitions to the different features. Thanks, JB.
Yep.
And another resource that I would recommend is Interaction Design Foundation. They have like a one-time membership fee for the year, and you can take as many courses as you want to learn about UX. And what's cool is it's not just about, you know, designing screens. It's also about service design, or how do you gamify things, right?
Yeah, that's something I'm really interested in.
Yeah, so Interaction Design Foundation has a lot of great resources to apply user experience, because, you know, typically we think about UX as our interactions with the screens, but it's also about like how do we interact with remotes or elevators or the dials on our laundry, so, or even like wayfinding in a mall or something. There's a lot of different nuances to user experience.
So it's like design and functionality.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Great
Thank you
question.
guys, appreciate it.
What else?
To add to that, first and foremost, ChatGPT is going to be very more for all the questions that you kind of put in there. But then there's a university, or like let's say you like a designer and you found out that they went to XYZ University. You can go to that university, pick up their syllabus, and learn from that backwards, right? So
That's
those
cool.
are all the resources. Just be self-started, and then you have this community as well. I'm sure you can pick out a few people that you're interested in and get their contact information.
I want to improve on that. It's not ChatGPT, do Perplexity. Because Perplexity, what it does over ChatGPT is that it cites all corroborating websites and information, versus ChatGPT, where one of the biggest issues is that it can hallucinate. So you don't want the wrong information. So perplexity.ai.
I'm out.
How would that, I think using Gemini, how would you?
Gemini is also pretty decent.
Okay.
But it's still, I don't know if it really cites as much.
Oh, okay.
Because at least with Perplexity, it will show you all the citations it's pulling from.
Oh,
I just had a comment on really kind of like the hero's journey and how really universal it is, in, especially like as a business owner or somebody that's like in the tech scene. You're going to be telling your story from the hero's perspective. And so, for example, I design aviation software for mechanics.
okay.
And the way it's kind of interesting the way it works, because it's a blue collar trade, right? So to get good at this trade, it takes a lot of years, a lot of dedication, mentorship, trials, tribulations. When you're first starting out, you're kind of overwhelmed by the breadth of the profession. You're working on multi-million-dollar aircraft. You're new, you're worried that you're going to get somebody killed, which is also true. And you kind of have to overcome these challenges as a mechanic. You gotta take the journey, you gotta, it's an individual story, and you gotta overcome these challenges to become a competent mechanic. And I learned that if I'm able to tell this story better within my software, it repeats itself at massive scale. So a mechanic here at the North Las Vegas airport could learn on the same journey. They could learn the exact same thing, the wisdom at scale in kind of like from each individual journey. So a mechanic in North Las Vegas could learn from something from Wyoming, from Korea, from Dubai. They all learn from the wisdom, from the journey, and that's what's very relatable to them, because in my profession specifically, a lot of our instructions are in black and white, but if that was enough, like, people wouldn't cause thousands of dollars in damage to our craft, things wouldn't fall out of the sky, so that's not enough. There's this very kind of tacit dimension to the storytelling, to human wisdom, to the experience, and that has been very fundamental to kind of the way I approach this problem. So, yeah, storytelling is super important.
No, thanks for sharing. Yeah, I mean, they do it every movie, and you pay for it. But when we have all of them,
Yeah, for sure. And my approach when I started taking this journey to kind of solve this problem, I looked at what people were already doing, and a lot of times it was a engineering approach where you're trying to kind of the way it's kind of worked for like a very long time in these types of industries is that they try to pigeonhole people, they try to control people, so they try to control the process, which is important, but when they kind of do this, they pigeonhole everybody into a very specific task that, and as we all know, as we all experience, not everybody's kind of the same, nobody thinks the same way. Some people have very specific competencies that they're really good at, and this has been the top-down approach for decades, for generations, since the invention of flight. Mechanics think different. I was a mechanic for over a decade. I realized that we all think different, that we all have different competencies, so my approach has been to kind of build it from the point of view of the mechanic. What's the best way that mechanics are, and that's through storytelling, through wisdom, through mentorship, and my app or my software essentially scales this kind of wisdom, and that was my approach to kind of solving this kind of massive problem.
what was the name of your software?
Oh, it's called Tempest Skywise. We're launching the MVP next month. And
Oh, cool.
Nice.
Very cool.
Congrats.
Is it coming?
it's called Tempest Skywise. The software's that's the company, but it's going to be called the Apex Mechanic, and it's going to be a wisdom at scale. So, yeah, wisdom at scale essentially. Instead of just trying to replace people with AI, I'm empowering the mechanics to be better with AI. So that's essentially my approach to it.
Very interesting.
How would you modify your flow to all of this if you had 15 minutes to present, 30 minutes, or an hour?
I wouldn't do, it depends what the task is, because I wouldn't add too many details. Otherwise, it would be a very heavy presentation for 1 hour, right? Unless if I would do probably 2-3 projects like I have done before. And a mobile, SaaS, and a website redesign.
So it'd just be adding more projects?
I put in.
But then just sticking with like the 10 to 15 minutes per project. So if you have more time, you could just add more projects rather than taking longer on like one. Okay.
And I have several slides that are hidden that I know that there's too much, and like no, because it's gonna extend. I try to time it, and I just hide them because it's like it's not gonna work out. It's gonna be too long. That's this part, and I need to keep going, right? So
if you only had like 15 minutes and stuff, you would probably just go in depth on one, and then just call it a day right there. Okay.
It's a gamble because it has to be the best one, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's like but.
All right, I want to ask a question in extension of that. What happens if you have a mixed audience where some people want to just know very minimal, and then you also want those who have a lot that they want to know about? How would you construct your presentation?
What do you want to know? What do you want to? What's your goal?
That's true. What would be the
right? Like the audience is you have to deliver the message, but what do you want from them at the end? Do you want to get hired?
Well, yeah, I guess it really depends if you want to, or if it's just a matter of presenting progress. Like, do you just go for the bare minimum? Do you create an appendix? Do you just like have questions for later? Splinter off to a separate meeting? What would your approach be?
If I have a divided audience, I Sure. I'll be prepared for answering questions. I cannot. Let's put it this way. I'm given a class,
Sure.
which I did in UX,
Yeah.
and I have somebody that's asking me too many questions.
Sure.
Right? I cannot delay everybody else
Right.
because somebody needs extra attention there.
Sure.
So I have to deliver my main message
Yeah.
with the people that might give me more feedback, and then I can spend more time or have extra knowledge here for extra questions to answer to the specific person. Yeah.
That's it. I have a question.
Okay.
And it's more because I'm going to be in the market soon. So for those of us who may be under an NDA or have designed something that haven't launched yet, I heard that you mentioned something like fabricate it yourself. How do you deal with, I guess, stretching the metrics or dealing with NDAs and you can't show high fidelity screens?
Well, to be fair, I haven't shown anything that is NDA-ish, so I don't know what would be the right approach, whether you don't want to mention the brand or you maintain everything like, blurred. The metrics, I don't fake them. They're the most I can get from whatever. Like 75% people say that it was amazing. That's what I include.
And it doesn't matter whether that 75% was, a 4 versus 4,000.
Yeah.
75%.
I try to keep, if you have the strict numbers, good numbers, I'm going to say it. If I don't have numbers, do good numbers, I try to see what can I learn from there. Even if the product didn't work like you wanted, there's something that you learn there, right? Why didn't it work? Because this happened, because I didn't do this, because the team did this wrong, or we didn't do this the right way. So whatever you learn, it's not every product we show has to be successful, and that none of them are, honestly. I didn't know the first time.
It's okay if it wasn't a success, but you're still telling the story as to why it wasn't.
How you have a sequel to tell later, right? Like that's the story, and you as a designer learn all this, and you as your own story as well. Especially to get hired.
Yeah, something to add.
Question? Yeah, regarding the NDAs, two things, right? So if you're designing something that is the website, something to show somebody, I would just change the brand. And then if you're demonstrating like metrics for people, instead of demonstrating, hey, I worked with Pepsi, hey, I worked with a beverage company that we did X, Y, Z. So you can have the general industry metrics and people will understand. So that you're safe and you can still present your case.
Cool, thank you.
You got the versatility of not necessarily taking it to a particular brand, which can take on its own life.
Right, yeah, people are very opinionated with brands these days, so depending on the audience you have.
Brands have reputations.
Yeah.
Right, so in general, you should always do generalities. So like, hey, if you work in aerospace, this is the aerospace thing, I wouldn't say a lot too important. Like Pepsi Cola, I wouldn't say, let's just say Pepsi, or I would say beverage, so on and so forth.
That's good. Any other questions? All right, cool. Thanks for your presentation.
Thank you. This is the, if you wanted to receive information about the Las Vegas UX group, there is this form here you can scan, and you'll get into the know and the newsletter and get to know our future events and stuff.
I thought it was a crossword puzzle, but all right.
Solve it.
Yeah, we definitely want to hear your opinions on what kind of topics you would like to see for this group. Or if you want to stay up to date, there's several different ways to stay connected with us. So definitely join our community. We would love to have you. And if you're interested in speaking and practicing, definitely reach out to me. It's a great space for us to practice articulating our design decisions.
Are you guys doing something once a month?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
All right, cool.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Thank
everyone.
you.
Gary.